Well, from immigration to Obamacare, last week's debate was full of contentious topics, but faith dominated the event's final minutes as the Republican candidates had the opportunity to discuss God and the role that religion plays in their lives. Well, Fox News religion contributor Jonathan Morris watched the debate, and he joins us now with his
26
views.
million others.
Yeah, what'd you think?
Yeah. You know, I was, first of all, glad that the question was asked because it helps explain a person's philosophy, a person's character, a person's beliefs. And I was impressed that everyone gave an answer about a personal experience they've had in making decisions based on their faith in God. So I think we can take a listen now to a few of their responses.
Yeah, the first one we have former Ohio Governor John Kasich talking about God giving unconditional love. Let's listen to this.
I just went to a wedding of a friend of mine who happens to be gay. Because somebody doesn't think the way I do, doesn't mean that I can't care about them or I can't love them. So if one of my daughters happened to be that, of course I would love them and I would accept them because you know what? That's what we're taught when we have strong faith. Look, I'm going to love my daughters. I'm going to love them no matter what they do because you know what? God gives me unconditional love. I'm going to give it to my family and my friends and the people around me.
The current governor there having the home field advantage in Cleveland and really getting a lot of applause for that. What did you think?
I thought it was brave of him, you know, because he knows that not everyone's going to like his response, but it's a real issue in which you have to say, what does my faith tell me to do in this situation? Other people of great faith would have done other things. They wouldn't have gone to their wedding. He looked at it very seriously, obviously, and decided that this is what his faith told him to do, and it came across as very sincere and beautiful. I congratulate him for it.
Scott Walker also talked about faith and how it's helped shape political battles that he's been in. Listen to Mr. Walker.
What God calls us to do is follow his will. And ultimately, that's what I'm going to try and do. And I hope people have seen in my state, even in the big challenges I took on when I had over 100,000 protesters in and around our Capitol trying to do what I thought was the right thing, it wasn't just how I took on those political battles. It was ultimately how I acted, not responding in kind, not lashing out, but just being decent going forward and living my life in a way that would be a testimony to him and his faith.
Again, I think very believable because we knew the situation and we can imagine ourselves being in a situation in which all these people are criticizing you, yelling at you, saying that you're a bad Christian because you don't support the unions. He had to make a decision. What does my faith tell me to do in this situation? I thought it was an excellent example.
Well, here's a really interesting answer, I thought. Ben Carlson saying the U.S. tax code should be based on biblical principles. Watch this.
We need a significantly changed taxation system. And the one that I've advocated is based on tithing because I think God's a pretty fair guy. And he said, you know, if you give me a tithe, it doesn't matter how much you made. If you had a bumper crop, you don't owe me triple tithes. And you had no crops at all, you don't owe me no tithes. So there must be something inherently fair about that.
The flat tax is biblical.
Oh, I think that was a mistake. And I love Ben Carlson, and when you listen to him, you can tell he was looking for a way to make that relationship of faith and policy. But when you go to the Old Testament and say, this is what you're supposed to do, therefore now, with tithing and your flat tax, it comes across, I think, in my opinion, as hard to follow long term. Because, well, what about what the Old Testament says about how you should treat your cattle and your women and your, you know, it gets complicated.
But what about
in other words.
The parable of the talents? Doesn't that sort of
not bad? Yes, but I think
speak to the same principle.
Yes, but what came across to me was I go back to the Old Testament to find out what I should do about the tax code today. I don't think you should get that specific because it's very hard to actually follow up and do it. Okay, then you'd have to say, wait. Now, what do we do about people making such, you know, over 50 million. Well, let's go back and find out what, you know, Exodus tells us about that. It's a little bit dicey.
Well, Father, how much of a role should religion play in politics in the first place?
It should play a role in your life if you believe, and it should touch every aspect of your life. And that's why I love all three answers were good. Even Donald Trump, when he was asked before in Frank Luntz, he said, I've never asked forgiveness of God ever. Okay, now, that's not a normal experience of a person, okay? But what I liked about it was that he at least was honest about it. And I think if you're honest, then you're much closer to being able to be blessed and transformed by the grace of God.
Trump was
even
certainly
as a politician.
honest during that debate the other night.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right, Father, great to see you.
That is a great point.
Thank you.
Thank you.